Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another exciting podcast interview. I have on the show to close out my vision session for 2025, Brice Englert. He's the founder, CEO of TradePending, longtime friend. Brice, welcome to the show.
On time, Brian. It's great to be here. Thanks for everything you continue to do. Thanks for having me on the show.
Listen, as we open up 2025, just vision casting, for the year ahead, we have NADA coming up, and then of course we roll right into a very important time of the year, getting the first quarter set up right, retail operations, getting our processes really locked down for what some pundits saying are a very good year in automotive retail. Brice, when you look at the landscape of 2025, what's one message or theme at a very high level your team is working on? And then we'll get into the details.
So I am very excited to hear what the pundits are saying. I think dealerships should be investing forward to make sure their processes are set up to handle what will be more volume, not only purchases, but also in shoppers, right?
That's right.
Competing for that increase in purchase volume more than ever. So I am very, very excited for 2025. And early NADA gets us the opportunity to be able to deliver messages and technology and enhancements sooner than ever for our dealership customers. So thematically, I look at kind of two things. One, our core solutions, are so driven, as you well know, by website traffic and website conversion, creating more opportunities for dealerships. There's never been a better time to meet a consumer where they are, start a conversation, provide better information than you can get otherwise, to seed then your processes. So we can talk about enhancing processes, but really the second theme that I look for is how are we going to be setting up, really better retention systems within the dealership. In all retention,
Yeah. And retention has been a neglected topic for many reasons, right? Dealers rely on acquisition. Hey, spend more on Google or Facebook, do more direct mail, do an e-blast, get more customers in. But as I think dealers are focusing on their first-party data, starting to investigate CDPs, they will be doing more retention thinking because in the past it was just pushed off to a service lifecycle marketing company. And hey, if they come back, they come back. And if we have time to call them, we'll call them. But I think there's some new tools, especially some of the things you're working on. Let's talk about this shopper experience and kind of helping dealers modernize that. Most consumers have a car. When they come to a dealer's website, they are interested in knowing first, I think, what can they afford? They maybe have an idea of what their payment is. So they need to know what their car is worth and how does that translate into a payment. So my mindset is, and a number of dealer principals I work with feel the same thing, is consumers need tools prior to a digital retailing platform to explore affordability. Where do you sit on that? Because you have trade, you have payments, which give consumers a quick and accurate answer to that affordability question.
So this is our kind of founding principle, right? We have to meet consumers, where they are. We have to give them a simple experience to answer the most important questions. When I founded the company, the second question that was on the consumer's mind was, what's their trade? And then we went to our customers, which we didn't have a lot back in 2014, but we went to their CRM and looked at source of trade-in leads. Guess where that was? It was number 8, number 10. And it didn't take a rocket to understand, holy cow, like the user experience is awful, especially on phones. So, for us, we've always tried to meet consumers, where their questions are. And there is no mistake, to your point, and the number one answer for all of our surveys from consumers is, what can I afford? What can I buy? They're shopping for cars. That's why they're on a dealer's website. So that is our payment solution, which pairs with our trade-in solution incredibly well. So our thesis has always been, consumers are not necessarily going to your site immediately to purchase a VIN. They're going to your site to perform research, give them something different than they can get at other sites, give them something that is relevant and accurate, and let's capture their information and their behavior, and let's share that with dealerships so they can be even more efficient with their ad dollars, as well as more efficient then with their follow-up activities, understanding what a consumer is doing before they ultimately are contacted.
You know, the story that you just shared is exactly what I'm going through right now. I bought a 2020 Corvette when they first came out. 4 years later, the car has 4,000 miles. So I haven't been driving it much. Of course, after the first year, the prices of the Corvettes went up above what I paid. And now they have what I would say a normal depreciation curve. So now I'm saying, look, I need a more practical car because we have 2 homes here in the US now. So what am I going to get? And the first thing I wanted to know is how much is my 2020 Corvette with 4,000 miles worth? And it was very interesting that I tested a few different trade tools. And, now it was like, wow, there's little differences in range here. And maybe a little less than I thought. And I put myself in this mindset. Okay, if that's what I'm going to get, what is that going to do to my payment? Right. So I'm kind of looking at, hey, if they're offering somewhere between 55 and 60 for the Corvette, I want to get kind of a mid-size SUV, but maybe that SUV is 70K or 74K. What is that going to do to my payment? That's all I care about right now. I don't know which mid-size SUV I'm going to get. I'm looking at Toyotas, looking at Cadillacs, looking at different vehicles. I'm just looking for some tools to help me, understand what I can get. And that seems to align with what your thesis is, that DR at a VIN level comes much later in the shopping cycle.
I think it should, and the old stat, back in the day when there was not as much online shopping was, 60% of the consumers that came in to buy a specific vehicle switched to another vehicle.
Right.
And that was in the store. So why would that not happen on your website times 10,
That's right.
For your experience, though, what really struck me too is you're going to go to multiple sites, but if you do go to Brice's Cadillac, let me provide you with a unique experience, something different than I can get on a B2C site, cars.com, KBB. And let's certainly not remind you that you should be going to KBB or whatever. Like that's one day I think I'm going to write an article just about brand promotion and how dealers shouldn't conflict their brand promotion, keep things organic within their own environment, much like they do in their own shop, but that's not necessarily a key value prop.
But trade pending has been integrated in so many digital retailing tools, and I think the OEMs have something that they have to really reconsider. I get whether it's Toyota with SmartPath or any shop click drive or whatever the OEMs want to build. And I understand that it could very well be important to have the same brand experience on tier 1 or tier 3. I get that. But
100%.
your really dealer branded trade process, like you said, doesn't promote them to go to a national website where competing ads and dealers are there. It's customizable. You have APIs that can build into a dealer group's own custom retail process or into a DR. But I think one thing that maybe dealers are thinking is, Brice, love your tool. It's super high converting, but I still don't see the vehicle, right? I have to trust that the consumer is, presenting the vehicle for what it really is. And that's why I was excited to have you on just before NADA to talk about how a previous acquisition of a video platform has, now brought some new feature functionality to the trade process. Can we talk about how you're bringing video into trade?
Absolutely. And this is the first time at NADA that we're taking our thousands of customers on trade and payments and providing them with a major enhancement at no cost. So we are integrating our video solution within trade opportunities. So between trade and payments, about 70% of consumers that go through that experience identify a trade. If you
Right.
identify your vehicle, Brian, I am going to ask you via text, by email, give me a 20-second walk around. I'm not going to ask for an appraisal. Just give me a 20-second walk around. Most consumers can do this. And so literally we're going to have tens of thousands, even if we get 10% conversion, of videos landing in our customer's lap where they can see the car, they can get excited about it, and then they can have an improved follow-up because they have such an engaged consumer now. What are they going to do? Well, obviously, they should follow up with that consumer in kind and say
Right.
about how excited they are about, in your case, the Corvette. So
Yeah, and I love that because, honestly, and this is just emotional attachment to cars. That's why I was really glad you added video, because I was saying, look, my car's been in the garage.
it's
It has
special.
it's my little baby.
I'm going to
Um,
show it off.
yeah, it has 4,000 miles. It's really been only driven in Florida, good weather conditions. So I want to get the max, value for my vehicle. It's never been in an accident. So if somebody said, look, take 20 seconds and do a quick walk around, show me the interior, I'm gonna do it. I don't think I would follow a 30-step trade process on my phone. That's just me. Like, hey, take a picture of the inside door, the left door, the front dash, the front of the car, the back wheel, the tire depth. I don't think I'm doing that. That seems like too much work. This seems like the perfect compromise for me. I could show, hey, let me see what the dealer will give me based on my video of my shiny red, Corvette.
100%. And I've always approached everything we've done with conversion in mind, as you well know. And that's, the proof's in the pudding. Go look at your GA4, check out all the stats. But this is meeting where consumers are at today. And frankly, I think consumers are going to be excited to merchandise their car. I think actually you would be one of the best consumers to merchandise a car, Brian.
That's right.
But think about the emotional engagement now that I have to be able to show off why I love the car, and every consumer wants to sell, their car. And, oh, it's really bad. No, no one says it's in fair condition. They don't even know what that is. But I can
Right.
think about all the good things that I've just done. Put on new tires like 3 months ago, da 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 da. All these things are going to be pluses for the dealership to get excited, and then of course get the car into the store and go through a formal and slow appraisal process. We've tested the 30-step process and things like that and understand very clearly at what stage consumers fall off. This is the best solution today to meet them where they're at, and it's included. We have almost 4,000 trade customers. They get that at NADA. We wanted them to come by our booth, let us show you how it works, so you're ready to go. We have almost 2,000 payment customers. They get this, as part of their solution. So I'm excited to help dealerships right out of the gates this year. To your point, it's going to be a big year. We're going to bring more information to them. Great opportunity.
You
Booth.
know, I think the video piece and the recommendation that you made, hey, respond back to them in video.
Yep.
I've interviewed folks at Co-Video. I've talked to dealers who use video in the CRM, and it's a strange thing. They always say there's one or two people in the dealership that do it well. And if the managers don't keep up with people, people don't use video. And I just want to say one thing to the dealers that are listening. Everyone's looking for a competitive edge. Prior to COVID, if you called a friend on FaceTime, it may have felt a little like, hey, like, why is he doing FaceTime? Today, I prefer only to do calls in FaceTime. I want to see the person, and I use WhatsApp a lot for my international friends. But everyone's been on Zoom meetings, maybe even Zoom to death. But one thing that we can definitely say is that when you send a video, you can feel emotion, intent, and focus. How many times you've been on a Zoom call and a dealer principal's on their phone the entire time, and
Yep.
your people are doing the demo, and you're like, man, that dude's not paying attention at all. But when you respond to someone who sends you a video with a video, I think you're acknowledging their effort. And I think as a consumer, I'd like to see the person I'm talking to's face by saying, hey, Brian, thanks for sending that video over your Corvette. In fact, I love that color combination. That is awesome. And 4,000 miles, wow, that's a gem of a car. We'd love to get that in on trade, put that right on our showroom. If that comes back as a video, what type of experience does the consumer have? You know that they probably put in trade value somewhere else, just let's be clear, but you're the only one who responds in video. I think that could be a significant change of opportunities in 2025.
You know, what you said with the challenges in the dealership and having consistent process, you know, those do exist. Those are improving. You know, as we share more data about the engagement rates and success rates, it is being used more. So dealers have to be seated with, hey, what's working? But here's a cool story. I had an electrician, this is about a year and a half ago, and very much inspired me to go down this whole video path as well. I had an electrician appointment. He had to, you know, put in something on my panel, and I got a text from, I think it's a nationally franchised company. And it was this gentleman who said, hey, I'm Bob. I'm your electrician. I should be there about 9 o'clock today. And, you know, the job's going to take about 2 hours. Please text me if you got any questions. Boom. I was like, great. It's not a stranger walking into my home.
That's right.
I see Bob's shirt that says whatever. He was addressing me, Brice. It was already personal when he showed up. I'm like, Bob,
Come on in.
thanks, Bob. Appreciate all
Yep.
the help. Guess what he did after? Brice
Sent you a video to ask him for a review, right?
You got any problems whatsoever? Here's a link. Please shoot me a review. Thanks so much. I mean, it was so simple and it's integrated within their workflow. Bob was not the greatest on camera. It's okay. Consumers don't expect Bob to be, you know, a superstar, but it was a great experience and I remember it today. And this is how I think that we should respect consumers and with what we're asking them to do, right? You know, take out big loans, you know, sell cars. These are big deals for consumers, you know.
That's right. You know, Brice, you mentioned 2025, not only meeting the customers where they are, but helping dealers with retention. And, you know, part of the dealership experience is maintain your car to keep the value high, but depreciation on cars really varies. And as I mentioned, I'm just going to use my Corvette story. I paid, I think, $74,000 for my Corvette. At one time, those cars were getting 90 to 100,000 because supply and demand. And then when I went and got a trade value that it was somewhere maybe in the 55, 60 range, I was like, wow, I missed a lot. Now, I wasn't really interested in selling. But here's one thing. If I saw that going from 100 to 95 to 90 to 85 to 80 to 75, at that 75 mark, I might have said, hey, the trajectory of this car now is starting to dip under. Am I using it that much? Is it time for the trade-in? You know, real time in every market what the value of cars are. It would seem to me that this data could be used in a lifecycle marketing campaign because the only thing I've gotten from the dealer, the local Chevy dealer is, hey, we want to buy your car. Hey, we want to buy your car, right? Not what they're going to pay me. And of course, I wasn't ready to sell my car in year one or year two. Tell me what you're thinking and what your plan to release this year at NADA to help, well, this whole retention and lifecycle marketing process just have a new competitive edge.
So I would tell you that I was most excited about a product launch about 4 or 5 years ago with a product called Superlatives. You know,
yes, I remember the day that came out.
Great dealer group really inspired us for that, and the same things happen now. You know, we've seen the market move, and I ran a fixed ops marketing company before I started TradePending, called Auto Revenue, and we did a lot of email marketing. We did a lot of messaging to the consumer about service specials, and we saw the engagement in those is really good. But TradePending today has built a pretty good business focused on all of the transaction kind of conditioning, providing you information, seeding opportunity. Then we got into process with video. What are we doing the other 10 years that you're going to own the vehicle? And how can we help dealerships in the end create a relationship through communicating information? That's in the end what we do. And so we launched Value Watch. We just came out of beta 2 weeks ago, and very excited about the product because it does compete with what I believe has been a very successful routine from Carvana and
Yes.
their value tracker. It's a great data, and it shows you month over month change. It shows you inflections in the market from supply and demand, all the data that we have. But for our dealer customers, we're unique in so far as we can marry that with our service offers. And while we're reminding you, Brian, the Corvette's worth this, by the way, here's what we're offering and for these seasonal specials for whatever routine maintenance may need to be, done in your car. And the engagement is very high for the dealership. They're building a very, very valuable list of consumers to raise their hand, like you could have when you saw the value tick down,
Yes.
and eventually use Car Manager to look at as the primary source of used vehicle acquisition. And I'll see this. So used vehicle sales volume has been going down over the last 4 or 5 years. From 14 million, kind of ticks up and down with supply, but the competition's never been more fierce.
That's right.
Garcia, they are determined to execute incredibly well. Last year was the highest mark I've ever seen in the NADA data, where 80% of used vehicles retailed came from consumers. And so if we're not investing as dealerships and vendors into how can we help dealerships with that, only 17% came from auctions. 20 years ago, that auction percent was like 34%. That's not
Right.
coming back because it's too competitive, it's too expensive. And I, as a dealer, I've got a service department that's unique compared to the other virtual retailers. And I have information that I can share with the consumer to be able to keep top of mind. If you don't do it, the other guys are doing it through that ownership life cycle, which creates, frankly, them being a first consideration when you're ready to raise your hand. So very excited about Value Watch. The beta stores have been wonderful to work with. And this is one of those
I
simple,
love that.
Brian, you know us, we love simple. You turn it on, you see benefits, you go, boom. And that's how we're approaching this.
Yeah, and maybe dealers haven't been so aware of the acquisition strategy that you've executed in the last few years to adding more products, more diverse solutions, and the fact that you have a turnkey service offering now with the Value Watch in there. I think that's super important for me as I look back on my current journey, right? I think in January, I don't think I'll be able to, may go into February. I don't know. January's a little busy, but
Yeah.
I think I would have maybe acted last year if I saw that the Corvette's trajectory over the last 18 months was so sharp. And of course, some dealers may say, hey, Brian, some of the cars that are coming in for trade are coming from that very high time, where they paid over MSRP and, values have dropped. Honestly, look, this is a byproduct of what the auto industry did. You can't hide from that. But I think if month after month, as you're providing service offers and you're showing the value of the vehicle, I think it takes the sting out a little bit as well. Just saying, hey, you're not saying this is what I'm paying you. It's just, hey, this is the market value. And I think it's an important education, Brice.
It eventually, this is, just coming out of beta, and the roadmap that we have for the feature set on this product is very robust. And so just like we were, let's talk about engagement at a different level, from your Value Watch text message or email, where Brian could say, you know what, I want to raise my hand, and you know what, I'll go take a 20-second video real quick. So, we have so many opportunities. And I think the most exciting thing about TradePending for 2025 is dealers and partners are going to understand exactly what the acquisition thesis has been over the last 3 years as we finally pair these solutions together, video over here and values over there and trade and payments and things like that. We're just trying to help dealers, rise to the future challenge of shopping. And we can go back and talk about DRT and give them a competitive edge, versus the other guys out there that are determined to grow too.
Yeah, and I think, my message to OEM partners, be careful. Be careful of this one size fits all. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to rehash past failures. But, during COVID, Ford CEO said, hey, everyone is going to buy online. And hey, you're going to have Mach-E dealers and only, certain dealers can sell electric vehicles. This was a mindset of they knew exactly what consumers wanted. I kind of contrast that to Toyota. As they've been working on SmartPath, they told dealers, look, use whatever tools you need to transact. SmartPath is growing. Now there's SmartPath for service. And in addition to their retail process, recently in 2024, SmartPath decided to support the Automotive Standards Council spec for GA4. Now every click, hover, and swipe in SmartPath can be seen in GA4. I want to just say Toyota set the bar as like, hey, dealers, we have a Toyota process, but, feel free to use what other tools you need to help the consumer feel comfortable before they are ready to transact. And that's what I hope, Brice, is that dealers are not forced to say the only way someone can get a payment, the only way someone can get a trade value is if they go through a multi-step DRP, digital retailing platform. What's your thoughts for 2025? Do you think we can get a little bit more flexibility in OEMs and understanding that not everyone's ready to speed date and buy a car?
100%. And dealers are demanding it. And some OEMs are listening, but you know how the pendulum just kind of swings a little bit too far before it comes back into the rational middle and things like that. TradePending has long supported DR, not only through our API for values, literally for every major DR tool, whether it was CarNow or Gubagoo or Roadster or Dealer Inspire Online Shopper. We've been there for the journey. We saw the COVID pop through all the provision dealers. We've seen the return to kind of normalized consumer behavior and dealer behavior change. Now we are seeing, some OEMs getting a stronger hand at kind of demanding, dealers have, a singular experience. What I envision in 25 is that, they're going to actually then learn, wow, we're really cutting off a lot of opportunities for our franchise dealers, and dealers are going to abandon that. Remember back in the day when dealers used to have two websites?
Yes.
I don't think we're going to go back there, but
No.
I do hope that OEMs look at solutions like we have and say, we are going to share all the data that we have, and we are going to meet the consumer where they are. And when they are ready to transact on that VIN-specific experience, we can seed the digital retailing experience better than any other call to action ever could, because we've seen the consumer, what they're looking at, how they're shopping, how they're identifying, from a credit perspective. We're going to nail it, and not put a consumer in the situation where they got to bounce in and out and in and out and all that. So we look forward to partnering more today. Our trade values are integrated with SmartPath. Our trade values are integrated with Shop, Click, Drive, so our customers can have confidence that we're showing consistency.
Right. That's the key.
Tools. So I have a lot of confidence we're going to continue to grow in that regard. And I think that's going to make it's got to win for OEM dealers, and consumers. And we can operate in the middle of that and share data, be transparent, let advertisers and other advocates, for the industry like you, have confidence in your recommendations with data, not just because we say so.
Well, listen, I love the fact you're continually iterating and improving the engagement or increasing engagement. I really think Value Watch is going to be a game changer in service marketing. Just for me, like I said, there's my journey. I'm just a consumer, but just to keep the dealership top of mind, that my dealership knows how much my car is worth, they're educating me. I think that will give dealers more of a first crack, right, at having the conversation with their dealer, because those emails aren't generic anymore. They're actually personalized. And I think that's another weird thing. How many times you get a service email and you say, this email was sent to 1,000 people. But if the email opens up, hey, Brian, just wanted to let you know, we have some current service specials for your 2020 Corvette. By the way, the current market value of that vehicle is X. If this is a time for you to consider trade or whatever, hey, just click this link, send us a video. We'd love to talk to you about that. But in the meantime, if you love your car, here's this month's, service offerings. That's a completely different experience than a generic one size fits all. Hey, save $10 on a synthetic, oil change. I don't even think consumers know the difference between synthetic and non-synthetic oil change. So it's like, I guess this was sent to everyone.
100%. Yeah.
So Brice, NADA is just a few days away. Why would you encourage a dealer to stop by the TradePending booth? Listen, it's always busy. That's the good thing. But for people who were former customers or never customers and want to see what's going on, tell them why they should be visiting this year at NADA 2025.
I'd love to have a count over the last 10 years, how many customers we've had. And I think it probably is approaching 8 to 10,000. Some of those customers we've had 3, 4, 5 times. So yes, everyone at NADA should come by the booth. They should learn what we're doing and how we're doing it. Number one, most customers understand our trade product, but they've got to understand the new features that we're providing them. We can set a few configurations to make sure alerts are going to the right people to get notifications that consumers are submitting videos about their trade. It's going to be great. And otherwise, just, as always, understanding, how we can, change placements on their site subtly, how we can add tags to make sure their advertisers are aware of what's going on. Let's work, continue to work with their CDPs to make sure that all the data needs to be where it needs to be. And just, come say hi. We've got a cappuccino bar too. So
Come on. I love my espresso. I mark the booths at NADA that have espresso machines, the real Italian espresso. That's what gets me through the show. And you mentioned CDPs, and I just wanted to close on one thing. Been working with the TradePending team as part of the Automotive Standards Council to add some additional depths in each step a consumer takes on your products, both trade and payments. So I'm really excited for them to be able to share, even at NADA, the expanded support for the Automotive Standards Council so that dealers with CDPs can do abandoned trade journeys, abandoned payment journeys, and really work on elevating the customer experience. So Brice, hey, thanks for your time today. I want to encourage all dealers to visit the TradePending booth. Also visit me at our booth. I'll be releasing my new book on automotive CDPs. It is really a playbook for dealers who are thinking about investing in a CDP, how to plan, how to implement, how to activate their first-party data. But the book will be given out only to people who book an appointment. So go see Brice, come and see me, and more importantly, get ready for a great 2025. Meet the customer where they are, exceed their expectations of what a retail experience can look like. And that's through great partnerships like TradePending and the many, many OEMs that they're working with today. Brice, thanks for your time.
Thank you,
Are
Brian.
you excited for this NADA show?
It's more than ever. I love New Orleans. I love the food. I love the the vibe. It's always a good haul. I've never had a really more positive messages to share with customers, and I can't wait to see a lot of good friends.
Right. Well, we'll definitely spend some time. I'm coming by for an espresso. For everyone who's listening, and make sure you listen to all the great interviews I have on my podcast channel. Just search for the Brian Pash Podcast. Until then, I hope to see you at NADA. If not, at a future show. Don't forget the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference, end of April in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. That's where the latest in digital marketing strategies will be shared to help you sell more cars in a digital age. Thanks for listening in. I'll catch you next time on another podcast session.